All right, everyone, welcome into episode 4 of season 1 of the Hooley Brothers podcast. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing dandy. How about you?
Dandy, huh? All right. Yeah, I'm doing pretty swell myself. Tuesday night, so we're cutting our way into the work week here, but now that we're on the pod here, we have to get into it and what just happened on championship weekend. So we had two big games on Sunday. I think we were hoping for two good games. I think we got one. We got one good one that turned a little weird at the end, but we have our Super Bowl matchup, and we'll get into it. We'll take it one game at a time here. So first off, with the early game, 10 Super Bowls.
It's unbelievable. He's still doing it in a COVID year with all the family
New
stuff
team.
he had going on.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
OTAs, just new team, new coaching staff, and
Mhm.
he just had to get there. He didn't need to win his division, didn't need to buy. He just got there. And
It's his first time in the playoffs as a wild card.
mhm.
Like, so that's like also weird to think about. Like, Pat just won the division every year, so he never even had to go on the road on the first round. He never had to do that. He never hasn't had a home playoff game, and of course he ends up with one anyway.
It's unbelievable. It's just like, what did he do? Like, how is he? Like, is it luck? Is it all just that much skill? Like, how is this
Yeah,
possible?
I think it's just. I mean, first of all, it's just so much talent for so much of his career, and now I think some of that's faded, but just like mentally, he's just so locked in. You learn so much in 20 years, and on top of the talent that he does have, it's just insane. Though I thought he would have a good year at Tampa. I had a very strong feeling they'd make the playoffs, maybe win a game or two. But the fact that they're in the Super Bowl again, or he's in the Super Bowl again, them back for the first time since the '02 season, it's absolutely insane. Like you said, it's crazy to think about. So that's just kind of where I wanted to lead off, especially again being a couple of Pats fans here and just witnessing this pretty much our entire football watching lives here. And but now let's get into the game really, because it was strange because again early on it was very close, and then obviously Tampa started pulling away, and then Green Bay made that comeback late. So I guess let's just like dive into it early. I think both quarterbacks looked really good early. They were kind of exchanging dimes back and forth.
Yeah, that first drive when Brady had a lot of third downs, kind of like the game-winning drive against KC 2 years ago, where it
Mhm.
was just a lot of third and longs, and you had to make the throws at the perfect time. And that was a very, very good throw to Mike Evans. The first misplay of Kevin King of the day, but
Oh, Kevin, that poor guy. He had a rough afternoon.
so that was just a great opening drive to set the tone that they weren't going to end up getting run over like the Packers been doing at home the entire year. And yeah, it was kind of back and forth. Like there were a couple like midfield punts, but it was a good
Mhm.
job by them. The Packers kind of withstood that opening blow to be able to tie the game.
Mhm.
But then after that, playoff Lenny.
Playoff Lenny, plenty. He had that fantastic run in the first half there. You didn't quite think he was going to make it. Excuse me, all the way to the end zone, and he was able to pull that off. What a run for Fournette. He's kind of had an up and down. It's funny because you think about it, it was his second championship game because he made it 3 years ago when he was on the Jags as a rookie there, and so having him come back after again how everything ended at Jacksonville, and it's kind of even had an up and down year. But yeah, playoffs hit and playoff Lenny, you said it already, but that was a great run from him. And then I think we talked about it then yeah, so Tampa really started to take control, and they were up a decent amount. I think was it 14-10 on the last drive, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, so it went Rodgers threw that deep ball to MBS to get it to
Yeah.
7-7, and then playoff Lenny had that crazy run to get it to
Hmm.
14-7.
Yeah.
And then the Packers really kind of butchered the last 5 minutes of that half.
Yeah.
They got like down to the goal line, and it was like first and goal from pretty far out, and it did work for them. He had 18 touchdowns, but they ran 3 straight plays, all for Devontae Adams.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a
That,
weird out route that didn't work out, and then that pitch and catch that should have worked on second down was a kind of a back shoulder throw that was a couple inches away, but I think Adams should have had that ball.
yeah.
And then on
Yeah.
third down, there was that streak up the middle that Rodgers like carried him out of bounds, but he had Lazard wide
Hmm.
open.
Hmm.
So that was
Yeah.
a pretty bad setup to that 14-10 that you were the
Yeah.
aforementioned.
Exactly. And correct me if I'm wrong. Was that the drive too? Because I know they did this at some point in the game when they basically tried the play that I actually liked that they did against the Rams, where Adams faked going in motion and they cut back, but then Tampa was all over it.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
first play of the game. They tried to do
right.
the same thing, but
First
they
play,
kind of went to like the short side of the field, and it
Mhm.
was different because they did it on like the 1 or 2 yard line. So it's kind of just that's all he needed because in that game Ramsey was on his butt, but once he only needed 1 or 2 yards. So by the time he
Yeah,
got there, he was getting tackled. And this time it
but
was just zone coverage out to the side, and the ball just got deflected to the ground.
again, and then I'm also not like a huge expert on NFL film watching, but I have to imagine that play got highlighted all week for Tampa, so they definitely saw that play coming. Like you said, they were only able to walk away with 3 there, make it 14-10. And then I think we talked about it too, just the clock management of the Packers. It just seems like they're not a team that, if they're sailing and everything's going great, they're cruising. They have no problem. But once it gets to this, either they're trailing or, like you said, they need a quick score trying to get down the field. They did kind of butcher that. Like you said, like that. Rodgers, he's very much about, what's his MO? It's getting the defense to jump, the hard count, everything, milking that play clock all the way down to pretty much 0. So when it gets time to do that 2-minute drill, you definitely see that Rodgers and the Packers offense really struggles there, and it gave Tampa one last shot there on that final drive of the half.
Yeah, they left a lot of time on the clock, and then they got to midfield, and it was 4th and 4 when they thought they were going to punt,
Mm-hmm.
and then they drew up that play, just a quick out to Fournette for the first down,
Yeah.
and then it was like field goal. Like I know, like Brady had his coat on. It got really weird and just extended.
Well, like you said, so it got to the 4th and 4, and I like the decision. I'm like, there's not a lot of time left. You don't need a punt. Just go for it. And especially like we were saying, the Packers, clock management's questionable as it is. They picked that up. And then I think it was about 6 seconds left that ended up happening, and they had to use that. They had to burn that timeout.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a timeout left. So they couldn't really run a pattern over the field to kind of get closer to range. You were talking about a long field goal. I think it would have been mid-50s. So you think, okay, what are they going to do? Maybe try to run a quick, out route to the sidelines. Even if it takes 5 or less seconds, you still have a chance to get out of bounds and kick the field goal. And what happens? Kevin King strikes again on the defense. Brady, again, he threw a dime to start the game. And again, King kind of blew it, so maybe it was a little more open. But just something about the pass just looked so beautiful going up there, finds Scotty Miller in the end zone, and it completely changes the course of the game. You know what I mean? It was, like you mentioned, 14-10. Maybe the Packers are going to pick up some extra points. Instead, you're like, all right, well, Tampa's going to try to maybe get it to 17-10, or maybe we can hold them and it'll still be 14-10. 21-10 going into the half after that huge turn there where they kind of just gave Tampa too much time. And like I said, Kevin King and then the Packers defense really just let Scotty Miller get behind them.
Yeah, that was on Kevin King, but not entirely. Like you got it was the Dr. Heat. But they didn't even send pressure. They only sent 4.
Yeah.
And they had like a safety loaming around the boxes, like a QB spy for Tom Brady with 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
Like it would take him 10 seconds to get outside out of bounds for an even gain. So it was just another shocking play call by Pettin and LaFleur.
Yeah.
And just put their worst corners had a terrible start on an island, and all it did was ruin his confidence even more, which led to a disaster in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
the thing, the Packers, if they had the ball to start the second half, like even if you let the out route, it's like okay, and Suckup makes a long field goal in Lambeau, you just got to tip your cap and be like, okay, we kind of didn't really have a good ending to that first half, but we're only down a score, getting the ball back. But instead, it was just disaster going into halftime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another note I mentioned too, because then obviously, it's 21-10 at the half. Packers go out pretty quickly on their first drive of the second half, and Tampa marches down the field and scores again to make it 28-10. So a note that I had is Tampa somehow did the halftime score without really having either one of those possessions. It should have been the Packers to end the half, and then they came out of the gate hot in the second half. But no, the Packers had to get rid of the ball at the end of the first half, giving Tampa the ball back to set up their score. And then the Packers off the field so quick in the second half. They did the classic Patriots, Belichick, Brady, half score without really having the ball in either one of those scenarios to start.
Yeah, because that was the opening play. I think it was like 3rd and 5, and Aaron Jones got his clock cleaned.
That Jordan Whitehead, oh my God, that's another thing I had, because I think he had that hit to injure Jones, and then like the next possession they had, he hit someone so hard he hurt himself. So
Yeah.
took him out of the game. So yeah, Jordan Whitehead was bringing the heat on Sunday afternoon. As you mentioned there, first kind of banging up Aaron Jones, then himself kind of further along. But yeah, then it's 28-10, and it really looks like Tampa can't be stopped. I have TB can't be stopped. Like that applies for both of them. It applies for Tampa. It applies for Tom. And they really just look like they just couldn't be stopped.
Yeah. So then that was really when he needed the answer of Aaron Rodgers, and he did. That was a very good drive to go back downfield. It was I think I had to pick a couple third downs and ended up with that scored a Tunyon. So they got us at 28-17.
Yeah.
And then the INT started for TV.
And that's the thing too. Again, Brady had an amazing first half, but then the second half, again, you had that one to Evans that I don't know. That's a tough one because it's not a great ball, but I still think Evans has to at least come down with it. I'm not even saying catch it, like at least like I don't know. It was hard. It was hard. I'm not going to completely blame it on him.
Yeah, I think if we break it down interception by interception, that was probably his worst because at the juncture of the game it was 28-17, and then the ball, I believe it was 2nd and 10 at the 38, and it was a deep ball downfield, and that's when he overthrew him a little bit, and Amos had that very nice
I was
interception.
going to say, well, it was a duck. I do have to say it was kind of a
Yeah,
duck.
it wasn't his best throw.
Yeah,
and then
but
that's
yeah,
when the Packers converted again on that turnover for points.
Yeah, and I definitely think that first off, going into the game, the injury to Antoine Winfield Jr. that's obviously something tough to overcome. Like I said, Whitehead was all over the field. It looked like, and then he comes out of the game injured. I think that started to catch up with him on top of obviously the interceptions, kind of maybe putting the Packers in a bit better position, even if it wasn't great position. Kind of building that momentum. So I think the time possession of the third quarter, I think was something insane, right? Like it was like 13-2 or something as far as Packers.
Pretty insane. Because I
Yeah,
think they scored the touchdown right before the end of the third quarter to make it 28-23. What did you think of the play call to go for 2 there?
For some reason, like a lot of people have problems with it. I want to do that at all times. I'm like, why do I want to go down 4 points? And like, I get it. Cause then like long term, if they take another field goal, now you're only down 7, which ended up obviously being what happened. I don't know. I that doesn't really bother me, especially now with like it being 33 yards. I might feel a little bit differently if it was still the 19 yarder. 33 is still close, but it's not automatic as it used to be. So I don't know. I think in that position, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it personally. I think you should be able to kind of get it in with 2 yards. You have, some great backs. You have Devontae Adams. You have the tight end and Tunyon. I think you should be able to make that work.
And if that's an analytical call to kick it instead of go for it, how is that any different than the whole when you're down by 14 points going for it on the first time because your odds are going to get it the second time? So in the scenario here, they didn't get it on the first. They should have assumed if they got the touchdown in the next one, they're going to get it on the second time. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of breaking down those analytics a little step further. That's something that, and I'm not even a huge fan of the down 14 thing, but I do get what you're saying here. It's like, well, your whole logic behind the down 14 thing is like you'll get one of the two. So yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Even though they should have had it, I know it was very, very, very partially tipped, but you got to catch that if you're St. Brown.
Yeah. I think especially as a receiver, that's something you go over all the time with those tip drills. But yeah, like we mentioned too. So it was 28-23 when they scored.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously don't get the 2-point conversion. Tampa kicks another field goal. It's 30.
That was not yet, because then that's when that the Evans interception where it was kind of down in like the goal line area where it went off his fingers, and that's when
yeah.
That's when Alexander got his first pick.
Yeah.
And this started the winning time for the Packers. Like I know they did have 2 good answers, but when you're down 18 points, you need to put everything together to complete the comeback. But when you get a gift of Brady throwing a red zone pick,
right,
you need to score. And if you go 3 and out, that's awful, especially because how tired that wounded Bucs defense was at that point.
Yeah.
And then when he gets the ball back, they finally did have a good call sending that safety blitz or corner blitz on 3rd and 2. They got another gift from Brady.
Exactly.
And another 3 and out. 6 plays, all passes when they're down by a touchdown with good, like relatively good field position.
Right. And sorry, I was jumping the gun a little bit there as far as the stuff that happened in between. I just meant score wise, like the next thing that hit the board was so yeah, it's obviously 31-23 late in the game, like you mentioned, those situations there where, yeah, Brady did throw some picks, but the Packers were not able to capitalize. And now here we go. So it ends up being, again, 31-23 coming down the stretch. And again, this is where the game's really getting good. I thought, Tampa was running away with it. It looked like they were going to really win this game, but then the Packers, whether through their own play or like we mentioned before, the bad plays from Brady there, they find themselves back in it. They go on a little bit of a 13-0 run. Then the field goal is announced 31-23. And so, because that's the note I had too. Yeah, Brady picks, but the defense is holding them off. But then I have
that
my
was
next note.
Very good job on that pass rush because that's at that juncture of the game you really saw how much the Packers missed Bakhtiari.
Yeah, exactly.
Of those 6 plays, I believe 2 of them were sacks, and a couple of them were very rushed passes that you can tell that Rodgers was not comfortable.
Yeah, and then this is where we get to my next note in all caps. What was LaFleur thinking? I don't understand it. Like it's something that I think, again, one of the running jokes on Twitter is that the Dan Quinn from 2015, it's now the LaFleur. It really is. I cannot believe with that little time left and number 12 on the opposite sideline, you think that he's just going to go 3 and out. Like you're convinced you're just going to stop them 3 and out and go all the way down the field and still have to score another touchdown. Again, if this were a 6-point game, I could see the logic there. I really could. But
it was just,
and again, a lot of it is on Rodgers. Like, not a lot of it. A portion of it's on Rodgers. I think he had the lane there. He could have at least gotten halfway. I think
if he gets down to the 3, they go for it, and I think he could have easily got to the 3 on 3rd down.
Yeah, exactly.
I might have to look at it again, but I think he did have an option to pick up a couple yards on the play on the 2nd down play.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. You just gotta take another shot.
I could not believe it. I really couldn't.
Like they finally got their offensive back into motion, and I really like to think on a 4th try they punch it in.
Here's the real question, and because I've been kind of going back and forth on this one too, and I think I might know the answer. But if this was a 7-point game instead of an 8-point game, do you think that changes the decision there?
I like to think it would, but according to Fleur's press conference, I don't think it does.
Okay, because that's in my mind the only thing, and this still isn't even enough for me, is thinking, okay, well now we have to convert this 4th down and then also get a 2-point conversion. So like let's just try to cut it so that we have to come downfield and then we score a touchdown, we win versus like having to do all this just to tie the game. But still, no excuse. I could not believe that if I were a Packers fan, I'd still be livid about that right now.
And then they kick it to the 8-yard line.
Yeah, and
luckily they got very lucky with Mickens just sliding.
Yeah,
only taking 3 seconds off.
I don't think I was looking at the clock because if it weren't for the clock, I kind of got the thought process. I'm like, yeah, don't screw anything up, don't fumble the ball right now, like just get down. But yeah, you should be looking at the clock.
At least like shuffle your feet until you saw 2.
Try to get wrapped up. You know what I mean?
Just keep the feet moving. Like don't even go for yards.
Like
just
push
go
the pile for a few seconds. Yeah, exactly. Just try to get it down under 2. But anyway, yeah, could not believe the play call. They kicked the field goal, so it's a 5-point game. Like you mentioned, that kick to the 8. Get a little help from Mickens. They get an extra play out of it. And then there was that whole offsides thing, which was a little weird.
Great call.
So great call from the Packers, not a great call from Tampa to not decline the penalty. I mean, I guess you could be playing that game all day if you're either sideline there. But Tampa gets enough plays to
they had to get 2 first downs, which was pretty shocking.
And we have to talk about and another note that I had was just spare me with the pass interference complaints. Like the game was not over, but like I have no sympathy for the team after that call that LaFleur had on 4th down to kick a field goal.
I guess the only thing you can maybe say is that it was uncatchable. They could have got the ball back after a punt with like 40 seconds, and if there's one quarterback to pull a Hail Mary out of his ass, it's Aaron Rodgers.
No, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have won the game after that, because like you said, like that's happened. But I'm saying I don't have any sympathy for the Packers because of that. Because I mean, I do for the fans, but like your coach took you out of that game.
You kicked the field goal, and you had 2 chances down 5. The exact same opportunity that your coach kicked the field goal for. You had it twice, and you went 3 and out both times. So
yeah, and I get it. Like
you can't put it in the ref's hands. Like it was a little ticky tacky, but there was a clean jersey pull, and you see that.
Right. No, and that's what I was.
The picture.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I'm hearing the argument, like, oh, they were calling it they were kind of letting everything, letting the guys play all game. Why is now when this happens? But like, there is a still image of him 6 inches at least, like maybe even a foot, just like has his jersey or his towel, whatever it might be. It's just I get it. I get it. Like, I mean, because then they don't call it. You're talking the other way. There's all these still images that are floating around the internet. Say this does happen. The Packers end up coming out on the field to win the game. Everyone's looking at that call that goes the other way. So I don't know. I typically like letting the guys play, but I mean something that blatant. I don't know. I mean, again, it wasn't bad. And there was I think I even texted you at the time. Huge time flop on the play there by was it Johnson? Was on that play or
yeah. Awesome.
Huge flop. I think that really hurt him because everyone was focused on the flop aspect. If it was, like I said, I think technically it was a penalty and he definitely flopped. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know much sympathy there. The Packers, I'm like, they can't be rewarded here. I even if I had no rooting interest in the game. Also, I know we talk about gambling a lot on the show. I do have to thank Matt LaFleur though, because I teased the under there and I had it under the point total because of that touchdown would have put me over and I would have lost both my bets with Tampa. So thank you, Matt. Really appreciated that aspect of it.
Yeah,
but
I knew you were mad. We're like, this is benefiting me, but I'm screaming at my TV.
That's the thing. See, I can be impartial. I mean, like again, I have a lot of biases on things, but I'm like, I am 100% benefiting from this call, and I still don't get it. Like, why did this? Like, I'm mad that it did happen. Just from like a fan perspective of no team, just like a football fan. It was crazy. But like we said, after the call, Tampa able to pick up that final first down, the one that the end around to Godwin. He was able to pick it up, kind of slides, and what we let off with it. He's back. He's back in the Super Bowl. And before we get too much into that, I do just want to say, like, looking at the other side of the coin. I mean, what does this say about Rodgers? Clearly, one of the best all-time regular season quarterbacks we've ever seen, but now just that one ring, and I know. I mean, it puts him in the same. I mean, I think he's a much better quarterback than Drew Brees, but he puts him in that category Super Bowl wise as guys that have only done it once and kind of in the middle of their career too. He's had 10 years to get the second one. He has been able to do it.
Yeah, I feel like it's the lull everyone goes on. Even Brady went 10 years without a ring too.
That's true. It's weird to think about because he had so much success early and so much success now at the end of his career. But yeah, that's true. It was about 10 years in the middle.
I think that's what they say. It gets too QB centric there in the middle. But this is at the back end when you got to win him again. When you're making your last MVP run and you're finally got all your weapons together. I mean, the Packers still are relying on Adams a lot, but the running game was very good. You found a coach that can at least get you there.
Yeah,
better than McCarthy.
That's true. He's got to make way better decisions with clock management. But
he can get you the NFC Championship game, but then you got to take it out of his hands, and you take him out of his hands by. Yes, you would have had. He did do a good job of covering him for his botching the end of the half with the Hail Mary to Scotty Miller.
Yeah,
he kind of bailed out his team getting it back in that game, and his defense answered the bell. He's like, "Okay, back to you. Let's win this game." Twice, and he couldn't get it downfield.
Yeah,
and then he didn't run for it. So
I think it was
a bad day for Rodgers at the end of the day, even though he had a great game.
Yeah,
he had a great game, but it ended up being a bad day for him.
Right, exactly, and like I think you mentioned it too. Just those two drives where Brady kind of gifted them a few possessions. You had a tired defense. I think that's where you expect Rodgers to kind of make a championship play, or even on that final drive. Comes down to the last minute. You're down by 8 points. Like, can you punch it in? And they weren't able to. I mean, again, I think he still should have had one more chance, and maybe his coach took away that final chance because sometimes it comes down to that. I think we've seen that with a lot of the all-time greats. Sometimes it takes that fourth down play. We've seen it even out of Brady sometimes. It takes all 4 downs sometimes to pick it up, and he was kind of robbed of that. I do have to, that's one thing I'll give him is that he should have had one more chance. Even if we blame him for not picking up more on third, I still think he should have had that chance on fourth.
Yep.
Yeah. So it should be interesting to get into the 2021 QB carousel after we finish up the AFC Championship game. But one more note here, just again, we're talking about Tampa. It's insane. We mentioned at the top of the show. Everyone's saying 10 of 20 for Brady, but I'm going to point out 2008 does not count. He tore his ACL week 1. He is 10 of 19, which means over half the time this guy suits up at quarterback and plays a whole season or even, I guess his first year played 14 games. If he plays the majority and starts the majority of a season, he makes the role over half the time.
Yeah, because I think I even see the number they include his rookie year too. So it's like under 50, and it's like,
no, I'm not counting that. Yeah, no, I'm not counting that. 2000 doesn't count. 2008 doesn't count. When he's the starter for over half the season, is 10 of 19. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's funny too because, like you said, you mentioned the time in the middle. They only made two and lost both. If you talk about from the Eagles to the Seahawks Super Bowl, which is again a 10-year span there. So you're talking about that 9-10 year span. He only made two. So it's funny how bookended the career was because it was obviously three early on and then now seven on this, or I guess two in the middle and then five on the back end. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy. Someone even separated it out like there's a way to break his career down like three, like into thirds, like,
Hmm.
and I think you could argue they're all Hall of Fame careers. Just
Yeah.
like it's insane. So can't say enough about him. I think
I think
I don't
Kellerman said
know.
it the best when he was like, he has a Hall of Fame career since I said he was off the cliff.
Yeah, yeah, because that's three Super Bowl wins, five appearances.
Hmm.
Yeah,
An MVP.
yeah, and an MVP. And you saw I don't know if you saw that. I remember we talked about it last week. That graphic of quarterbacks. It was Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Manning, Breeze, and then just Tom Brady after the age of 37.
And you think that was the
His
best
numbers are
resume?
better. Yeah, I even showed it to some of my friends, and they're like, "Oh wait, is this everyone after 37?" I'm like, "Oh no, it's everyone else's full career and just him after 37." Like that's just ridiculous.
Insane.
It's insane. So Brady's back. I think he's gonna have a lot of fans up here, especially, and we'll get to this in a little bit. Or it's gonna kind of lead into our conversation here. Had it been Bills Mafia, I would have been a little torn. Those guys are crazy. They're fun to root for. But now that it's the defending champs, they just won. Patrick Mahomes is 25 years old. He can win a million more. It's his career. I think we're me specifically. I'm all in on Brady here. We'll see as far as the proposition thing going forward, as far as where the money lies. But from a pure rooting interest, all in on Brady the Bucks.
Yeah, I think the one thing that makes like okay because I think since Brady, like in the last 15 years, the quarterbacks come in the league with the talent to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes has been
Yeah.
my favorite. So if there is
Yeah.
one guy to be the next him, like
Oh yeah, I won't be
I would,
devastated if they lose.
I'd rather be him than like Breeze or Rodgers or Peyton, like of
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
that like have that caliber that we were talking about. So
Exactly. So I know we spent a lot of time on the NFC Championship game. I think there were a lot more storylines in that one, and it was a
you mean
much
just the
better
back and
game.
forth of
Yeah.
just back and forth was so much better. Or this was kind
Right.
of
Yeah. I mean, we can get into it here.
probably a shorter conversation.
Right. Exactly. I think we've typically been pretty even, at least on the divisional preview, the divisional recap, the AFC Championship preview, and NFC Championship. I think we've kind of been pretty even on our segments there for each game or each matchup, and I think this one's going to be very much lopsided towards the NFC because I mean the Chiefs are just a wagon. I mean, it's funny because they just they almost like lulled everyone to sleep the end of the season. Like they didn't really do too much. Even the Cleveland game was a little weird. Like
With the
that
injury,
stayed
because
close.
I feel like it could have got ugly if there was no injury.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Early on, again, I'm just kind of going through my notes here. I like to call on 4th and 1 on the first drive for the Bills. I at least like that from them. I think it could I think it was 4th and 1 from the 50, like pretty much around the 50. And if you punt there, I think you're headed for a quicker disaster than the one you experienced. So I appreciated them going for it there. Then there was a ball deep, and I think Beasley played good defense on it. Actually, could have easily been a pick by Kansas City, and that's something that I really want to get into here. And we've talked about it on some previous shows, just because all year I don't think anything special at all of the Chiefs defense. Playoffs hit, I don't know. You talk about flipping the switch in other sports, they seem to do it. And they just seem to be like, all right, well, Mahomes will put up 38, we'll let up 31, like all season, it's fine. And then the playoffs hit, and it's just they're a completely different animal.
Well, especially at home, because
Yeah,
it's cold. It's like always like either like
yeah,
it's either like dusk or getting dark or just is dark and
yeah,
just like they're just flying around.
yeah. So that was one of my notes. I just don't get the Chiefs defense. I don't. It's just all year. I'm like, you could put points on a ball all day, but in the playoffs hit, they're a completely different animal. So again, early on, the Mecole Hardman fumble was a huge break for the Bills. It really kept him in the game early. He was obviously able to redeem himself a little
I
bit,
was
but
like,
that was a
could that
huge
have been the
break.
worst thing for him?
What's that?
Could that have been the worst? Is that like a bad thing to like get up too early on the Chiefs?
I don't even know, but I just know at one point,
I feel like the team really came together around Mecole. I
mhm,
thought I saw a clip after that, and I feel like Like, was that a bad thing? Like getting up 10-0 with the whole motivational.
It was 9-0.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, I only say that because I have the note. I think I even texted you at the time too. Bills were up 9-7 with 12:26 left in the second quarter, and I said the Bills are done.
Yeah.
They were winning the game. I'm like, they're done because I think they
Yep.
had a punt or something. They're winning this game, and they're just
Yeah,
they're
they needed
toast.
to at least get a field goal to like be like, okay,
Yeah,
if they, when they score a touchdown in the next drive, it's
yeah.
you just knew
So
you knew at least both touchdowns were going to come. You knew it was going to be 14-9.
yeah, and yeah, again, just I had this in there twice because the first half I wrote a note. Hill is too damn fast. And then, like, without even realizing it, 5 points later, I think I started typing it, but I just kept going. I kept writing Hills. I wrote Hills too fast again. Like I forgot that I wrote it.
Yeah,
And
there
the
was that
guy's just
71-yard
speed.
play that got them down.
Yeah. So
Kelsey's
it,
a
I don't think something.
monster.
Well,
13
yeah.
catches.
I just feel like and again, I think a lot of this does go on Leslie Frazier and the Bills defense here, but just like you couldn't think of anything. I just feel like it was just like, okay, well, we're not going to let Kelsey go 20 yards. So we just kept getting like 14-yard passes all day. Like they kept feeding him like right over the middle, first down, first down, first down. And then when they need a big play, they go to Tyreek, and it was just they were pretty much getting anything they wanted on offense. I know a lot too, and we have to go back and the scores. I think it was 21-9 going into the
They
end of the
were able,
half.
they were able to. This was another beginning of kind of we did like the Bills' aggressiveness and the
Yeah.
almost the entire first half. But
Mm-hmm.
what did you think when it's 4th and goal at the Kansas City 2 with 14 seconds left, down 12 points,
Was it
giving the
the end of
ball
the first half?
giving the ball back to the Chiefs? What do you think of kicking the field goal?
Giving the ball back to the Chiefs. I thought the half was about to end.
Yeah, the half was about the end, but the Chiefs were getting the ball
There we go.
back
So
at the.
the only reason I didn't hate it, and maybe I'm getting too in my head with the numbers, because well, it's two things. First off is like, yeah, walking away with a zero there is pretty demoralizing. And two, I'm like, well, if you make it 21-12, even if you let up a touchdown in the opening possession, you're still down 16, so it's still a two touchdown game. So that's one reason I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. Just because I think, yeah, going into the half, just getting some sort of points on the board, and like I said, just keeping yourself within a two-score game, even if the Chiefs marched on the field. And I know you don't want to fall behind them at all, but that was one reason I didn't really hate it too much. But then it came up again later, and
Yeah, because on the first play, we were able to hold them to a field goal. So then it was
right, so
24-12.
it kind of just repeated the
And
situation.
then they
Yeah,
had 4th and 3 at the Kansas City 8. And then they
yeah,
27-yard field goal to go back down 9. And at that point, it's like I think you got lucky holding
24
them to
field.
one field goal.
Yeah, I feel like I almost
Maybe in the
didn't hate the
half because you
moment.
want to like the momentum. I see where you're
Right,
getting at there, but you couldn't do it
yeah,
twice.
I didn't. I definitely didn't hate the first one. Second one I didn't hate, but I definitely would have gone. I would have just gone for it at that point because you can't keep chipping away at the Chiefs. You got to go for
Yeah, because then
the
they
home
got a
run ball
touchdown
every
and it
now
was
and
a
then.
16-point game.
Exactly. And then I think that's where it kind of got, yeah, like I said, the wheels started kind of fall off for the Bills there. Poyer made some good hits on defense. I do have to give that to him. I put a note there. He made a huge hit. But again, yeah, just don't get the Chiefs defense. Hill's too fast. I thought Josh Allen definitely didn't look good. He looked very, very shaky. But I do have to say that he didn't have a lot of time. I think they really, whether it's the draft or free agency, I think the first thing they got to do, because they have a lot going right for them. They have, Diggs is obviously a stud at the wide receiver. If you can get Beasley back healthy, I know he was injured in that game, and I think you can build on that depth too. But if I'm the Bills' first round, I'm going O line because you need to protect this guy.
And you need to improve your run game too.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, I think that's something that you could even explore. I know they kind of keep trying to do it, but like maybe like mid rounds of the draft, trying to pick up another back just to kind of really solidify that run
I do
game.
think I like the way Moss was running at the end of the year. I would kind of give him
Mm-hmm.
the keys next year.
Yeah, I'm not
Maybe
saying
try to
like
find like a veteran pickup, like maybe like.
bring Frank Gore back.
I mean, I have no idea if this guy's a free agency, but like
AP. I'm just naming really old guys,
the
but
first person that came to my mind was like Latavius Murray because like you can see when Kamara's out, he can step in and have a pretty good game.
yeah, no, Latavius is a good pick. Also, I mean, I'm even thinking too, like what happens in Kansas City with the running back situation. Does Damian come back there? Le'Veon Bell's a free agent. I know he considered Buffalo when he kind of got his release
Yeah,
from the Jets. I know he wasn't too much of a factor going on the stretch. I know he's been a little banged up, but that's another guy you could potentially bring in just take a flyer on.
yeah.
But yeah, I think O line's the big one there because again, he definitely wasn't good. He made some mistakes, but I just don't think he had any time at all.
Yeah, I think he like had a pretty good start, and then I think he just realized that it's like, okay, it's time for me to keep up with Patrick Mahomes, and
It's so hard.
who can do that outside of
Yeah.
maybe Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Then maybe. Um and then we thought this was weird and it might have been inconsequential at the time, but then late in the game happens. It's
Oh, so mad.
I'm like trying to even remember. So was it 38-15?
38-15,
Yeah. Bills score to go down 38-21.
and then they went for
Or
two.
no,
This is with 4
no.
minutes left. It was 38-15. They scored 6 points on a touchdown to make it 38-21.
Yes.
And then instead of kicking it to make it, there's only 4 minutes left. You need a 2-possession game.
Yeah.
So kick the extra point. They went for it and
Right.
didn't get it.
Yeah. Very strange. So it's
Then I think they got the
38-21.
onside kick because
They did. Yeah. That's why. Because I'm like, yeah, the game's over, whatever. Just like, no. I thought it was, no, I thought they went for, that they didn't go for two. This is,
no, it was 35. There's 38-15. Then next score is 38-21. That's only 6 points. They went for two. And they should have just kicked the extra point to make it 38-22.
something, I don't know why in my head, because I thought I was like,
It's
I thought
38 minus
did.
22, 16.
No, I get what you're saying. All right, whatever. I still think it's weird because I was like, oh, maybe they just went. I thought in my mind it's like, oh, whatever. It's like the end of the season, just like you're going for two. But yeah, maybe they just want to get points on the board. Yeah, so I must have just got a little confused there. But anyway,
Well,
yeah, the
especially
onside
because
kick
like
works.
yeah, because they got the onside kick, and then it ended up being I think Josh Allen took a very bad intentional grounding safety because it ended up being 4th and 28 at the 33. So I'd say that they
Right.
just end up getting a touchdown on that 3rd and 5 or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was. And then it's a 10-point game. You go for two again. And then this time you go for two. It's a 1-possession game. And then I'm not sure what the timeout scenario looks like, but
Yeah.
then you're back
Okay.
in it.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. I got confused. That's what it was. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, I get like, oh, maybe they're just trying to get like another good play. But yeah, it made no sense. And then this weird chaos happened at the end of the game. That like 20-yard sack that and then there
Yeah, it
were
was
all
third
these
and
there were the
10, and then
punches
it was 3rd and 10, then ended up losing 18 yards.
and then there were all these penalties and then Josh Allen threw the ball at someone's head. I thought that was hilarious actually. He's just laying on the ground just like a little so you're seeing the slow motion replay of it
Yeah.
just like floating over. But end of the day, that all ended up just kind of be a little crazy, a little bit of entertainment in a game that was pretty much over. But yeah, Chiefs are going back. So second year in a row, AFC champs. Again, they look great. If there's anyone that can stop them, it might be Tom Brady. But just so much firepower on I guess both sides of the ball. I mean, we know about the offense, but the defense I think has really stepped up both these weeks because I think if the defense doesn't have as good of a game as they do against Cleveland and Mahomes gets hurt, you're talking about a game that could have gone in Cleveland's favor.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know because I think the closest you can say the closest team them beating him in the last 2 years was the Niners, and that was mainly because of their great defensive effort. Where I know the Bucs are the players, so they're really going to get healthy in order for that to
Mm-hmm.
happen. But then you can say
Yeah,
who's the only quarterback that's ever beat him, and that's Tom Brady.
in the playoffs, yeah, exactly.
So
So yeah,
part of me thinks it might just be another Chiefs runaway, but
I don't know.
that's
I keep yeah
in Tampa too. I'm not sure what the home crowd's going to look like. I feel like it's mostly going to be like free first responders, but
yeah exactly. There'd be limited capacity
and
and
then a couple of
everything, but
corporate seats, but nothing too crazy.
right. So we have the matchup set, and obviously we'll have a few episodes until then, so we have a lot of time to really preview. So we won't really get into too much now as far as the specifics go, but. Yeah, again, the Bucs winning 3 road games to get there. Chiefs just had the 2 home games, obviously. So 2 very different paths to get there, and we're gonna see the old guard and the new guard kind of going at it as far as the some of the. I mean, Mahomes is already like starting to inch his way into some of the all time greats, and yeah, we'll see obviously what his career turns into in the next 10 or 15 years. But we could look back and just saying that it was truly 2 of the best ever to suit up in this game. So it should be an exciting one. So that pretty much covers both championship games as far as, again, how this Sunday went. Again, one great game, one that kind of got away towards the end of it. But hey, it was 7 hours
It
of
was
football. So
football.
I'm not going to complain too much. We have one game left until next fall. And again, it's 2 weeks away, and hopefully have another good one there. But while we're on the NFL, and again, I know we kind of spent a lot of time talking about both championship games, especially the NFC, but do you want to talk about some QB carousel? So obviously, there are a lot of question marks now with Aaron Rodgers over the past weekend. Came out that Stafford's pretty much not going to be coming back with Detroit. They're going to look to move on there, trade him somewhere. Obviously, the ongoing storyline with Deshaun Watson. So, and Schefter even highlighted this on Twitter. Just this could be, and I think we might have thought this last year too. So, I mean, it could end up being a lot of people staying, but this could truly be an unprecedented offseason as far as QB movement goes.
Yeah. Part of me thinks it's going to be a dud, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think in the long run,
Rodgers will be back.
Rodgers is going to stay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stafford will be moving though. That's like
Stafford's moving, and is it a foregone conclusion that Watson's gone, or you think
no?
there's any?
I mean, he's under.
Think there's any way they
I
can
don't
repair that?
I don't know.
So I feel like he wants out, and they'll probably will do it, but they're going to want, if they're trading away him, they're going to want to get everything possible.
But if I'm a team that's in the market for him, clearly
you don't want to give up everything possible.
No, that's not what I'm going to say. I'm going to say if my quarterback situation is that bad, I'm doing everything to get someone in the door, really, because I think maybe if you're a really really bad team, but that's almost why, and I know we mentioned it last week too. We mentioned a couple different scenarios, but that's almost why a team like San Francisco or maybe Chicago make the most sense, because they're teams that San Francisco was obviously in the Super Bowl last year. Chicago, as bad as they look, they made the playoffs this year. They have a lot of good pieces. They have a good defense. You have Allen Robinson. Montgomery's been looking good in the backfield. They just need a guy, and it's like if you have to give up a few picks to get there or whatever it might take, then so be it. And obviously Chicago has the least. They don't have a top pick. They don't have a good young quarterback to send back, so maybe it's the hardest for them. But yeah, I think you could see a situation where San Francisco comes in, or even if you're. I mean, the good thing with a team like the Jets or Dolphins, I know we kind of talked about a few teams. It's like, well, at least you have a young quarterback, so maybe that saves you a pick here or there as far as we have to send back. So you're kind of just exchanging a quarterback for a better quarterback, and then also the draft picks along with it. But I don't know if you ever got Deshaun Watson at age 25, 26, and have him under contract and can really put a good team around him, I think you got to go for it.
Yeah, I think he's either going to end up with the Jets or the Niners.
That's true, because that's another thing too. We didn't even bring that up
because he prefers the Jets. He said
we talked a lot of scenarios. I think this came out after.
I think it was Saturday night.
That he said he wants to go to the Jets. Wants to work with Robert Saleh up there. So that's something that happens. And I do agree, Mike. I think a lot of people in Chicago probably want him there, but again, I just don't think they have the capital to bring him in. So I do agree that I think early on it was looking like Miami was maybe the favorite there, but I do agree. It seems like
I see them sitting put with Tua. Maybe the Stafford stay in the division.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a possibility. So yeah, I think like we were saying, Watson's going to end up in some sort of San Francisco connection, whether it's San Francisco itself or Saleh in New York. But then Stafford, I think Chicago is really something that could work. The only thing with him though is that he has to be traded, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would trade in division. I don't know how much of that still goes on in people's heads.
The Red Sox and Yankees made a trade.
That's true. We'll get to that in a little bit. I forgot to put that on our notes from LB, but yeah, that is true. No, I'm not saying I would have a problem with it, but I don't know. I think some people still do think that way. I hear some people say in conference, and I'm like, all right, well, if people think that, then they definitely won't trade in division. So other than that, I think a lot's going to depend on what happens in Philly with the Carson Wentz situation, because if they hold on to him, then maybe you see a team like Indy go for Stafford, because I think they're kind of keep doing the stopgap thing that they're doing there. I think, Frank Reich and Wentz, but I do think they have too much money invested in Wentz. I think Philly will stick with him in some capacity. So that could open up the door for him to go to Indianapolis. Obviously, the Patriots are rumored there. But, yeah.
I'd say I was going to say, I think the big domino that's going to make everything is San Francisco. Whether they retain Jimmy G.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of rumors that he's going to be coming to New England. I know we're not giving anything back quarterback-wise.
Shut out Jimmy Stewart's phone.
Yeah. So, let's say he ends up here, and they could be in the market. Who knows? They end up being able to pry Cousins from Minnesota. So I know that Shanahan Cousins. Yeah. So that could be another card back to the mix.
Also Watson, like we said, Watson can go to San Francisco. A guy like Cousins could go, and then that brings Minnesota into the fold. But then you talk about other guys that are who knows what's happening in Pittsburgh. If Ben retires, I know they picked up Haskins, but I don't think you're willing to give Haskins the keys right
The
now.
Rams.
He seems like he's the Rams. You don't know what's going on with Goff. It's a good point. I think I saw it like, oh, he's our starter for now. One of the like least
Oh,
confident things I've
it
ever
was a
seen.
very bad interview. I saw a clip. It was like the GM
Oh,
doing a
I
Zoom
only saw the
meeting,
bottom line.
and no, he's like, he's our quarterback. He's like, what's today's date? And then he just like, yeah, like, what is today's date? I'm going to talk about if today. And he's like, oh, Tuesday, January 26th. Yeah, Jared Goff is our quarterback on on Tuesday,
Yeah, he's such
January
a
26th.
smart.
It was like really, really
We need to
like
get we need, we
condescending.
need to get Charles Hearing from Ballers in the building to get the right
Get the
quarterback in
culture
there.
back there.
But yeah, I think it really is going to be a domino effect. I think, like you said, just seeing what San Francisco does will set off a lot of things. Seeing where Watson goes, because he's obviously
Yeah, the
the
big piece.
best prize on the market right now as far as the quarterback position goes.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
saying
what.
that over Rodgers because he's obviously 37 years old.
Yeah, because even if Watson goes there, that means San Francisco is the first move. And even if he doesn't go there, I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco makes the first move. And then as a result,
Right,
it's
like you
like
said, do
off the
they?
list, off the list. Okay, Jets. Like
Because they'll make. I mean, again, I still think at the end of the day, he's
that's what I
very
want.
likely coming back. But like, no, I'm saying like Rodgers, like
Yeah, yeah.
he's probably coming back. But if he's going anywhere, they're going to make a huge play because he's obviously from the Bay Area, and I think they'd obviously love to get him in the system. Granted, they did pass on Brady a year ago, who's has a similar background, but I think that's going to determine a lot. Like you said, Stafford is an interesting one because the Bears make so much sense. But again, I don't know if a trade happens in the division. Like I said, Indy.
No, I think Indy actually might be the call.
Yeah, and then also Denver. You can't forget about them. Drew Lock's had a whole year kind of under his belt. That he's built banged up, but doesn't seem like he's necessarily the answer there. So that's another position that could open up. Who knows what happens with Vegas and Derek Carr? Does something happen there? Because so again, a lot of these like little things could happen. Like you said, that might be where that I think moves like that are going to decide if it's absolutely crazy or if it's just a couple moves. But because then too, I think even our Cat was talking about Bears Marcus Mariota 3 years, $75 million. Like that's like just the type of move that they keep making. So
Mike
I can
Glennon.
definitely see something. Yeah, exactly. I can see something.
And then still draft a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, a lot of dominoes could fall. So we'll definitely keep an
It
eye
all
on
just
that. The draft. Oh, sorry, good.
it all just depends on the car that he drives.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if he drives too nice of a car, Chicago won't want him. They only deal with people driving like a 93 Camry or something like that. But but yeah, also the draft that's going to affect a lot of dominoes. I always forget because it goes back and forth. Is it because I think it switched last year? Like, oh no, I'm thinking of NBA now. I don't even know the free agency versus the draft. What happens first? Free agency probably opens, but then a lot of
Let me
like
look up the
waiting
draft
around
date.
happens. Well, draft's like end of April. I
Yeah,
think
I
free agency
believe
starts first,
free
but then
agency
a lot
starts
of people.
first. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think
that's
people kind of like wait, like wait to make some moves. But yeah, because
it's
Brady. That's right. Because
April
Brady signed
29th
in
to May
March.
1st. Yeah, because I remember
Yeah,
that was like it's like
yeah.
right when this all began. It was like
First week of work from home. Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
working from home. There's a
So
pandemic going on. Brady's in Tampa Bay. Like, what?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, the draft's going to affect a lot of that. Where the quarterbacks fall there, and we'll certainly get into that more as time goes
I
on.
guess I know we're going to talk a lot about the draft, but do you see Kuiper came out this first one today?
Yeah, Devontae Smith number 2. I mean, again, I'm not
Eight,
I'm
eight,
behind the
eight
paywall,
picks.
so
I only saw the bottom line, so I only really saw the top 10. But the first 8 picks, 4 quarterbacks, 3 receivers, and 1 tackle.
yeah. Oh, yeah, actually, no, I think I did see a streak. So because it was and one of the quarterbacks wasn't Fields,
Yeah.
right?
No.
No, I was looking at another guy. No, I
Yeah.
saw some other random guy on
It
Twitter, but like
was, yeah, the Kuiper top 8 was Lawrence, of course, then
right.
Smith 2, Chase 3, Wilson 4. Oh, the Bengals can get Sewell at 5. That'd be so amazing for them.
Yeah, they kill for that.
Waddle 6, Fields 7, Lance 8.
Because who's 7 Detroit,
Yeah.
and then 8's
Carolina?
Carolina. Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, seeing where all those quarterbacks end up, who takes a quarterback, who goes for because again, you'll obviously some like people probably prefer like a Watson or even a Rodgers or a Stafford at this point. But some guys might be like, all right, let's see what we do in the draft, and then maybe we'll
Then you got Matt Ryan
explore
up next, too.
guys. Right, exactly, because they, yeah, a lot, really a lot could happen.
Could happen.
I,
Whether
I was going division by division. I'm like, yeah, there's really only like half I'd say even less than half that you're like 100% this is their
I
guy
mean,
next year.
I think the only division that will this isn't even a guarantee. The only one that will probably return all the quarterbacks might be the AFC North. At least that's 3 guarantees.
3 guarantees for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Ben's obviously a question mark if he comes back or retires. But if he comes back, then yeah, that's a 4 for 4 division. Obviously, Joe Burrow will be hurt to start the year, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's definitely the most solidified. And then even unless there's a big Watson trade, even the AFC East besides the Patriots, pretty pretty decided. But actually, no, Jets gonna go quarterback. So anyway, well, yeah, well, there's a lot of time to sort this out, but I definitely wanted to hit on it early because we could see a lot of movement around the league here as far as quarterback goes. But I got a lot of football to start this. It's probably going to be most of the show. We do want to hit a few items here on the back portion here. Tonight was also the MLB Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and I'm going to read you the list of people who got in. That's it. So yeah,
quote
no
the
one.
great Mike Wilbon, 0.
Yeah, so no one got in. It seemed like the most likely candidate to get in this year was Kurt Schilling, and he obviously has a lot to say about a lot of things. And I think that definitely came back to bite him in the ass on that one, just because Dick dude just to keep your mouth shut. Like,
Oh, you sure he's done? He wants his name off the ballot.
Not surprising at all. He's someone that, like, I think even early on you were just like, all right, well, maybe I'll separate the player from the thing. He's gone too far down that.
Like, he raised a lot for ALS. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's okay. He bankrupt Rhode Island, and then
that's its own thing too. And then
and then he was like, okay, keep your mouth shut. And now it's like, okay.
Also, one thing I will say too, and again, I obviously only really saw that the tail or back half at least of his career. He seems like someone who throughout this whole process, like taking off the outfield stuff, he just seems like the absolute benchmark of if someone should make the Hall of Fame or not. Like he seemed like right on the border. Like,
he is the Hall of very good.
He's like, are you better than Kurt Schilling? You're in the Hall of Fame. Are you worse? You're not. It was like one of those things. So I think if
a very solid starter with an amazing postseason career.
Oh, if there was like a playoff, it's almost like the Julian Edelman thing. Like if there was a postseason Hall of Fame, he's 100% in. But I think the thing there is just like, if he had one of these cases, say he had a Roger Clemens career, but without steroids, but had this going on, I think he's in. Like I do. It's just
it's kind
the
of
fact that you're
mute his microphone maybe like when he's making a speech. Like, oh well,
it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, dude, you're already kind of on the borderline, and then now people just don't want to waste their time with it. And I don't know. I can't really hate it too much. It's just, I don't know. It's just boring. That's really it. I think if there were other people to kind of mask it, it wouldn't stick out as much. Like I think last year, obviously, he was close.
I just want the Roids guy to get in.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm in agreement with you there. I mean, I think it's just one of those things. Like everyone was juicing at the time. I mean, think of the two big names, Clemens and Bonds. Okay, so pitcher and hitter, they're both at a disadvantage. They got an advantage, and both at a disadvantage. So,
well, because I think I may have saw a tweet from Middlebrook say that they didn't start testing until like 04.
No,
that's like
no.
I mean,
exactly.
Bonds' head was a balloon by the time 04 was around. Like,
well, he had like the cyborg pad and everything.
But at the same time, like I would even think before he probably was on the juice, he was probably having a Hall of Fame trajectory.
He was like Pirates and early Giants years, and same thing with Clemens. I mean, he was a phenom with the Sox, and obviously
the Rocket.
Exactly, and I don't know. I just think it's too big of an era to ignore, and there's guys that definitely, because did Bonds ever test positive?
Yeah, we never got suspended.
No. Yeah, answer's no, and I mean he obviously did, but I'm just saying.
Because like I said, they didn't put it into 04. That was already below.
There's definitely guys in right now that did.
Definitely.
Like, I mean, you could argue Piazza did. It's just like all these, like, you don't know these things for sure. So it's just like it's. I think a lot of it comes down to the media. We talked about Schilling and his issues. Bonds and Clemens both weren't exactly. I don't think they were best friends with the media. Let's put it that way. So I think that hurts them, and it really, I think it really does. You're talking about one of the best hitters and one of the best pitchers to ever play, and they're not in that. I get it. even get like stringing him out this long, but come on, like we let's go. I mean, yeah, maybe you don't give him a first ballot, maybe not even the first few ballots, but
Heck,
come on.
even if you want to be an absolute a-hole and like give him like 76% next year, like get him
Yeah, I
in.
mean, you obviously can't coordinate that,
Yeah.
but yeah, just all right. Last year, I'll get you in there. But see, kind of boring. I don't think you had like again Schilling last year. I think it kind of gets covered by a guy like Derek Jeter, like, and obviously Larry Walker got into. But
Well, that's the one thing.
having nothing to mask it, like he was the top
Yeah.
guy on the list. I think that's where this kind of creates more storylines because there's no one else in.
That was kind of more the same. Like, oh well, Bonds and Clemens didn't move either. But I guess the one like
Yeah.
good hope for them is that, I mean, there's probably no story about Larry Walker, but I think he did increase 28% this last year.
Yeah, I think Roland he took the biggest jump this year, I believe.
Yeah, I think he was like fourth.
He's over 50%. I know that. Yeah. Actually, yeah, he's
Because
behind those three guys.
and then Vizquel was 5.
Yeah, and I didn't know something. I guess he had a like domestic violence,
Vizquel,
so
yeah.
he actually went down. So he actually went down in the vote. There were a couple other guys I can't remember who they said that actually took a pretty big leap as well. Then the best though is catching the people at the tail end that got like either 0 or like I think Troy Hawkins got like 0.5%. I was kind of happy to see that our guy Dan Herron didn't get any votes, which was a little disappointing. But yeah, so kind of boring this year. Again, no one gets in. That I'd have to keep an eye out because who were the first time guys? I think like Zito was the first time this guy.
He had
This
one
year.
vote. That was the guy I was looking for. I have the total.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. But
14
who were the first
people.
timers this year?
14 people did not get in. Did not get. 15 voters voted for 0 people.
Yeah, that thing through the blank ballot. Like, how boring is that?
Kadire, Swisher, Victorino, Burnett.
Andrew Jones was on this year too, right?
He's been on for 6 years. He only has 4 years left, and he had 33.9% of the vote. I think
he's off.
Oh
no, you need 5 to stand. Sorry, no, I got confused. I got the 50 mark confused. But anyway,
Tim Hudson got that 5.2.
That's what. Yeah, he was like the lowest guy that.
Oh, never mind. Years of ballot is the other way around. So he's been on for 4. I read it as years left.
Oh, okay. So
Jeff Kent.
Because there must not. The Verducci voted for him. There must not have been a huge class this year then, as far as first timers go, right? Because there's
the highest rated first year on ballot was Mark Burley at 11%.
Okay.
And then Tori Hunter at 9.5.
All very good.
Yeah.
Those guys, I think. But
on the guys on, I only really think Bonds, Clemens, Jones, then Manny and Sosa. That sucks.
I don't think either of them get it. If Bonds and Clemens are getting in, there's no way either one of them getting in.
Definitely not Sosa because he's at 17% on his 9th year. But Manny still has 5 years left at 28.
I think there's going to be some sort of like in 20 years from now, some sort of like veterans committee is going to like let all.
It's going to be a new wing or add the asterisks to all their names, which like fine, like
whatever, man, whatever makes you sleep.
Gets in the wind.
But yeah, and then next year like Ortiz and
A-Rod are the two big ones. Ryan Howard.
Okay.
A couple of maybe like it's gonna be.
I normally wouldn't think Ortiz gets in right away, and I still kind of don't. But I can't see them doing 0 2 years in a row.
Well, that's why
guys apparently still aren't gonna. Well, Schilling. Oh no, Schilling wants off, so
yeah,
that's its own thing. And I still don't know if these guys are gonna go forward with Clemens and Bonds, but
yeah, the big names for A-Rod and Ortiz.
They're such sticks in the mud, though. I could honestly see 0 again next year.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe Roland might get in next year. He really might.
Really want a whole entire ceremony just for Scott Rowland.
Scott Rowland. I don't know.
If anything, if they think that's going to happen, they might cancel this year's again and just save.
That's Jeter. The only thing. That's the thing too. They get to mask it because they didn't get the ceremony last year, so we just put. Jeter it's almost like last year was 0, and then now Jeter and Walker get in. So,
or anyway, they didn't do a vote last year. Took away all of it unless you're on your 9th year, and then they kept you on for last year. So like talking about. So Larry Walker got in.
Transferred everything over the year. So yeah, no one in this year. Jeter and Walker still get the ceremony. We'll see what happens next year. Again, I'm hoping last year in the ballot, just put Bonds and Clemens in. My God.
They
Anyway, now what's going on in today's game? We had a couple signings. And again, the Blue Jays are making moves. They sent Marcus Semien today. It was one of those funny deals. It's just funny when I say 1 year, $18 million. I think I saw the same thing at one point. I think the Raptors did that with like a Lowry extension. It was like 1 year, 31. In 1 year and an absurd amount of money. Just it looks so funny.
JJ Redick, I think he had like 1 year, 25.
Yeah, exactly. The Phil Rivers. I think Phil Rivers got 120.
Yeah.
Also, Phil Rivers, happy retirement. I
Yes.
don't know if we hit on that last week, but one person remains from that 04 draft class. We'll see what Ben does. But anyway, going back to baseball. Then Real Muto going back to Philly. I mean, Philly, you got to spend everything, right? Like now, like, you can't really shortchange anyone. You went all in on Harper.
You went all Harper, saying that you're going in all everyone. You signed Wheeler last year too.
Yeah.
And then
keep spending.
You can't cry poor now.
No, you can't.
Absolutely. Especially with the Mets adding all these players, the Braves being a top 5 team in the league, and I think the Nats kind of were like, okay, we won the World Series. We're just going to take a break in the 60-game season, but they're going to be good again next year.
Yeah.
I mean, their pitching staff is getting older, but still, I mean, getting any younger, but it's still very good.
Yeah, that's true.
And even the Marlins, they made the playoffs.
That's right. Oh, I forgot to expand the play. Yeah, but still, yeah, exactly. No, it should be good. The Mets can spend money now.
Yeah.
This should be a really good division. The Braves, obviously, like, again, the class of the division right now. But you mentioned all 4 of those other teams have some sort of positive thing to look for this year.
I love how they're just waiting. Like, okay, is the universal DH coming back? Because if so, we're just going to throw the bag at Osuna to bring him back. But if not, they're like,
I know. Then we'll let him go. He'll come to the AL.
Yeah. But touching back on the first signing, the Semien deal, that offense is going to be ludicrous.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
So because they're going to have
Springer,
Lourdes Gurriel was a pretty good, like,
yeah.
I think we were talking about the Blue Jays a lot in the apartment when we saw that deal on the bottom line earlier today. It's like, I think of the past year and a half, he's both had like that Gurriel guy has been like stretches for a month where he hits like 160, but then he'll hit like 400 like the next month and go off.
Exactly.
Hitting the gaps. And even Teoscar Hernandez has good power.
Yeah.
The boy, Rowdy Tellez at first base. If he played every game at Fenway Park, he would have 162 home runs.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even touch on the young guys.
Yeah, you got Vladdy, Bo Bichette,
Kevon Biggio, probably gonna be the leadoff hitter. Even I think like Danny Jansen's their catcher, like pretty solid. Like your
the Jays are gonna be good.
And they gotta find the pitching.
And they're way more exciting than the Rays.
Provided
the Sox can't win the division, I'm all in on the Jays for the AL East.
I think that's gonna be my bold prediction when we get to the baseball season, that the Rays are gonna have a down year.
Yeah,
like they'll still be like 500. But.
Yeah, but also John Lester signed with Washington. I don't know if we hit on that last time. So another thing to report. Again, kind of slow moving this offseason, obviously.
Yeah, there's
like you said, the
a lot
DH
more moves.
Thing. What's that?
So there's a lot more moves to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the DH, because
it's going to unlock a lot of things.
It's like who else? Like Nelson Cruz, like he might not be back with Minnesota.
Because if his market's going to be, is it going to be 15 or is it going to be 30 teams? So same thing there.
The Yankees did pick up some pitching with did we hit on Kluber?
No, I think you're right. Yeah. Again,
Kluber and then Jamison Taillon from the Pirates, former second overall draft pick.
Those are good. Yeah.
So that's very good for them. Like I was always like,
was Taillon a while back?
Yeah,
was he the Harper year? Or
I think so. Or
him or Strasburg. I think it was one of the, because again, half the time I don't know who goes number 1 in the MLB draft. It was a year I knew it was one of the two.
Yeah, because he was a high top prospect and he was looking great, but then I believe he got cancer and he missed a couple years, and then he's been like pretty solid. I mean, for as good as a Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher can get.
Yeah, I think 1 year he was 2 or something, and then the end of the year Ackley was 2. I think that's what it was, something like that.
Oh my God! So I forgot the list itself, but I think I saw a list of the amount of players the Pittsburgh Pirates have traded only since 2017, and it's ridiculous. It's like Taillon, Garrett Cole. It's like Taillon, Garrett Cole, Josh Bell, Meadows and Glass now.
Yeah,
Corey Dickerson is just like. There's a couple more on the list. There's Jesus.
They got Chris Archer there. Yeah. Anyway, but so again, we'll keep an eye on those moves, especially as we get closer to the season. But I did want to hit on the Red Sox a little bit. Obviously, still don't know what's going on with Benintendi. We talked about last week. They picked up Kike Hernandez, which I think is a good move for them. They also signed Garrett Richards, so adding another arm, which they desperately needed. the staff. That was what was it 1 year, 10 mil?
1 year, 10 mil.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then they also I got to forget to put this in notes too. Yeah, big trade yesterday. That hasn't happened since the great Stephen Drew trade of 2014. I remember that. I remember being on the field at Bourne, covering the Cape Cod League, getting
Had to get him back.
that update.
That was the savior for the 2014 team, bringing back Stephen Drew.
Yeah, exactly. So
like Kelly Johnson. I think he was the guy going back.
Yeah, something like that. But so they add Ottavino to the bullpen. They'll hang out with them to start. I think that'll come depending on how the season goes. Because they also got a prospect too, right? I think it was to take Ottavino's contract or something.
Yeah, because he has 1 more year left on his deal. I think it's like 9 or 10 million. So I think he signed his original deal was 3 years, 27. So I'm not sure if it's like equally chopped up or
if it was 9 AAV. Yeah, if it actually worked out that way. So I don't know. I mean, I'll take all the arms I can get from the Red Sox.
Solidify that bullpen because
and then just flip them. Yeah.
Flip them for another prospect. I think we got the Yankees like 24th best prospect back, which is like isn't saying something, but for just taking on $9 million.
Exactly. And what do we get back? Like money?
I'm not even sure what we gave back.
Yeah, just took everything. But yeah, so again, I think 2 positive moves. How positive they are, I don't know for the Red Sox, but we'll obviously see how things work out there and if they're able to round out the rest of the roster there.
Oh yeah, this was before the deal. I was listening to some like Red Sox speculation. It's like, well, we can sign Simeon at second base and then maybe like 1 or 2 more pitchers and then just say screw it and get Ozuna. Like I could like talk myself into like
being back. It's tough because you got JD though, because then someone's going. I mean, I have no problem with Ozuna in the outfield. I mean, maybe I'm missing something there, but
I feel like he can do okay with the monster without practice.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I still personally, I'm trying to bring back Benintendi and then have Kike predominantly play second, but
yeah,
we'll see. Still early, still only January. But yeah, again, especially with the Hall of Fame and a few signings, I wanted to touch on that. Also, we have to say, we're going to miss you, Garen Austin, on the NESN broadcast. Tough to see that she's gone. NESN seems to not really get much right these days, both with personnel. I know the YouTube TV deal I'm at, it's mostly on YouTube TV, but I still take something out on NESN. But
yeah, I feel like she had a pretty slow start taking over, but I think she really hit her stride.
She won people over for sure. She took a lot of Gatorade showers, a lot of still.
I think
the 2018 really helped her. Yeah,
I think even like 2017 was like them going to the playoff run. It's like I think she was like finding her footwork. I think I remember listening to that interview with her, and she was like, "Yeah, it took some time to get like used to like being in front of a camera, but she ended doing really great at her job." So
yeah, best luck moving forward there. But just want to quickly hit on a few other things as we roll through here. I don't have too much for the NHL portion. Again, I know the Bees seem to roll through Philly. Again, they played. We talked about the tight game they played at the end of last week, but then kind of I think it was 6-1 in game 2 of that series on Saturday. So they just kind of rolled through the Flyers there.
And they're up 2-1 with 8 minutes left in the third, hosting a very good Pittsburgh team this year. They're off to a 4-2 start. So
yeah. Absolutely. And then the other note we have, I know Mike, you kind of mentioned it pre-show here, but the Golden Knights, all their coaches have COVID, so they're GMs on the bench right now.
Yeah, so the game's going on right now. It started at 9. It's already 2-1 with 9 minutes into the game. And they just tweeted this. It was like, on the abundance of caution, the Vegas Golden Knights coaching staff will be self-isolating on Tuesday night's game during the St. Louis Blues due to COVID-19 protocols. Vegas Golden Knights manager Kelly McCrimmon will be on the bench Tuesday along with members of the Henderson Silver Knights.
Oh my God! So again, you just got to point out funny things that are happening right now. So
that's for only being like back in action for like 10 days. They've had some pretty funny stories between that and we touched on last week. So
yeah, that's true. And it's funny because hockey's obviously I think a different story. You get different kind of people out there, but I'm just imagining one of like the baseball nerds like Heim calling the game in the Red Sox dugout or something there.
Well, people forget Ruben Amaro was the first base coach.
That was very strange. GM to first base coach from Philly to Boston there, but yeah, so just want to quickly hit on those 2 items there. Some NBA stuff. First, want to keep it pretty local as far as the Celtics go. Obviously, they lost 2-0 to Philly, so I guess basketball and hockey broke even over the past weekend. But the home team dominated. So they did get back on track after Philly. Obviously, rolled through the Cavs on Sunday night.
Shout out Jaylen Brown, 33 points in 19 minutes.
Yeah, record as far as the shot clock era goes, which to me is just forever.
Yeah,
Most points ever scored under 20 minutes. So again, Jalen looking fantastic. Then uh, Tatum came back last night, had a good game. Uh, both the Jays really looked good in that one. No Kemba last night, second night of a back to back.
that was all. Yeah, all precaution, which is good.
Yeah, perfectly fine with that. So they were able to handle the Bulls. They made a few runs. Levine obviously is fantastic. Uh,
The goat,
Pretty much
Thad
the
Young.
only. I'm telling you, I tweeted it out last night too. I can never get over that graphic, and oh my god,
But
I have to read it out.
he did kind of do that stat line last night. I think he had 13.99. So
It's just so funny that they were able to that someone was able to find the stat line. And for those of you who don't know exactly what I'm talking about here, I need to get it up. It was a graphic from a few years ago when he was playing for the Pacers. Players with 800 games played to average 13.5 points, 5.9 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 49% field goals, 30% three-point field goals. The list is Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Thaddeus Young. So they took a lot of heat, but it's like, hey, facts are facts. I don't know what to tell you. Like, those are indisputable facts at the time. So I just think that graphic's very funny. Bulls, they just seem like they can't get quite into the top 3 picks, so they just seem like they're kind of
I don't think
stuck in some mediocrity.
they're a very
Really
random
Donovan,
team, but like you look at the pieces and you're like, eh.
they're all okay.
Yeah.
Besides Zach Levine. I mean, like Levine's obviously a monster.
Yeah, just looking
Most
at
of
it,
these
you see like
people,
Garrett Temple, Sederansky.
Otto
Like,
Porter.
yeah, just like, they're
Yeah,
good people. They have a bunch of eighth men.
exactly. But yeah, I just want to see the big 3 together. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really noting the big 3, but there are again 2 All Stars
Hour.
from last year and Jaylen Brown. Smart and Brown have been working well together. I saw they had a few stats last night about the amount that Smart's assisted on Jalen's both field goals and in overall points is near the top of the league. But again, I want to see both Jalen and Jason kind of working with Kemba. I think just getting a full team together as far as that goes will be good to see, kind of get a good idea where this team's at. I still think they need to add a lot more depth. I mentioned IT last week. Still don't think that's a bad idea. And also some help up front. I saw the Pelicans might be shopping JJ Redick. Would love to get him in here to get some shooting off the bench. Really provide some depth. But kind of going with that, Aaron Nesmith, we haven't really seen much of him going on, but he had 3 threes last night, so he had 9 points on that. I think it was 3-5 shooting. So that was definitely good to see as well.
Yeah, I think he's 6 of his last 9 from 3 after that rough start. So
Yeah,
it's good to see some confidence going for your lottery pick,
absolutely,
especially with Pritchard out.
absolutely. So again, good one for the Celtics last night. They play again tomorrow and Wednesday, maybe. I know the Spurs had their game against the Pelicans canceled last night. We'll see if COVID
Contact
protocols
tracing. Okay.
allow that one to get played. The only other note from last night I had was LeBron. He was back in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and some fan chose to say something to him for some reason, and he went off. He scored 46. You're 18. Pretty much it's just so funny seeing him and Brady going at the same time. Just
In different
things that
cities.
you could not think that he could do at this age. Obviously, a lot younger than Brady, but basketball being this good, quarterback's kind of its own position. I think in football, you have played a little longer, but LeBron still being so dominant at 36 years old. It's just,
Decided to shoot it an all time. Decided to just be a lockdown 3-point shooter now, while also leading the league in
seriously,
points on
assists
attempts.
and
He like I think someone tweeted that stat. It's like meanwhile, and like it was another stat that when your back's to the basket in the paint, like he has like 1.7 points per shot attempt. Like
yeah, it's crazy. He's just like you said, because even though he's still good, he's like getting more efficient, and he's just learned so much over the past 15, 20 years that he's even adding more to his game. So Lakers are obviously still the class of the league. I think Brooklyn has a good roster together, but it's still the Lakers and everyone else. I think right now.
mm-hmm.
Celtics do play the Lakers rather on Saturday night. I know kind of a week off from football, so that'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to tuning in there, catch that one. And then also good news before we kind of hit on the final story as far as NBA goes is that Karis LeVert is healthy. I know there was kind of an issue last week. We mentioned the trade might have saved him because he had to get a physical and check some stuff. I think it was his kidneys, right? And he had to have that looked at. But I think everything's good to go there. So obviously good news to hear from out of Indy.
Yes, great. Happy to hear he can get his career back on track with a fresh new start.
Yeah. And then just want to wrap up the NBA portion with today is the 1-year anniversary of the day that we lost Kobe Bryant. Again, someone my age, especially, I was again a bit more of a baseball, maybe football guy, or in my like early sports watching years, but then Kobe's really what got me into basketball. It's weird to say because I'm a Celtics fan, but again, I remember our mom getting me a copy of NBA Courtside 2 featuring Kobe Bryant was the name of the game for N64. So I played with the Lakers at the time. I think it's before I truly understood what the rivalry meant. But he's really what got me really into the game early on. I definitely hated him a little bit for part of that Celtics Lakers rivalry, but nothing but respect throughout his whole career. And I think it's still weird to think that it's been a whole year and that he's not here anymore. So it's just weird to think about, especially on the 1 year anniversary here.
Yeah, it seems like he had an impact on every league because even young players in the league, like Austin Rivers said, like in his first game against them, he kind of went out of his way to like give him a couple pointers. Then you also hear stories from Steph Curry that said like his first game out, he saw as a scrawny little guy that he just smiled every time he came in. He was like, I never felt so disrespected in my life. So I think that's kind
Like
of
a polite disrespect, exactly.
it's like kind of the two sides you see from Kobe.
Right.
He seemed like a very great guy, and also thinks that Gianna had to go too.
Yeah,
And
everyone
everyone,
else.
and everyone else, yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. The crazy part too, when I saw all the names come out, and I kind of mentioned it early on. I was on the Cape in 2014, and then John Altobelli was managing. I think it was Brewster down there at the time. So that name jumped out at me when I saw all the victims that day. So again, his whole family, other members of that flight, obviously, just a very tragic day a year ago. And just another thing too about Kobe too. It's funny too because he's kind of you hear all this talk about Jordan and LeBron, and he was the bridge guy. He played with both of them. I mean, you see clips of really the tail end of Jordan's career because he came to the league in '96.
That Laker
but
boy.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Laker boy, exactly. But he played in All-Star games against Jordan, and then obviously like again bridged the gap with LeBron. So he kind of had the respect of the generation before him, and then now you're seeing guys who grew up, guys my age, guys even younger than me, your age, even younger than that all watched him growing up, and it's crazy, again how much he impacted him. And it's also, not that there's many good things that come out of it, but just seeing the relationship that Pau Gasol had with him and it continues to have with his family now is just that's one sort of positive to kind of to take a look at this situation. But again, obviously a year ago, just very very tragic time around the NBA. Kind of it hit me hard, even though again I obviously didn't know the guy. It's weird to think that way about a celebrity, but someone who was just such a he really was the beginning of my basketball watching life. Is that Laker three-peat, and like I said, the video game there. So again, played such a huge role as far as getting me into the game as far as a fan goes. So yeah, just truly a profound impact on the game, and crazy to think it's been a year.
Some peace.
So exactly. So that would have been a good way to wrap up, because again, I had a few notes on NCAA. I think it's weird. So we will briefly just touch on that in the final few minutes here. But it's weird that Duke, UNC, and Kentucky all are unranked at the same time.
Yeah, it's a bad year for the Blue Bloods. The Kentucky did have a nice win on Saturday, beating LSU. And LSU's been good at putting up points. Shout out to Cam Thomas. I think he's averaging 22 as a true freshman for them. But they had a good win in their home court. They played Alabama tonight, number 9 in the country. They were in it the entire game. They were like up, like I even think like a couple points with like 4 minutes left, but they kind of Alabama took over for that rest of the game. Hit some free throws and won, I think, by 10 points. And UNC won tonight, so their UNC is looking a little better.
Yeah. But also had the basketball equivalent of the Red River rivalry tonight, and my setup here, my TV is over there, so I couldn't really catch any of it. But it ended up being a 1-point game. I'm Oklahoma.
I was literally, you saw me looking at the camera. I was kind of looking at the box score at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And Texas was shorthanded, no Shaka, and their starting lineup, they have Jericho Sims as their big man. That looks very good. He was out with COVID contact tracing, and I believe they start 3 guards: Andrew Jones, Coleman, and Ramsey. Ben Ramsey was also out, so they're missing 2 starters along with Shaka Smart, and they only played 8 guys, so they got off to a hot start. Oklahoma kind of took over, and in the last gasps, Texas missed a 3 and then got fouled. Unfouled in the rebounds, and they both their free throws, and they couldn't really. There was only like 5 seconds left, so by the time Oklahoma missed the free throw. They only had like a couple seconds to get it up court.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
they didn't get a shot off. I think it was just like a turnover and heave.
Yeah. So again, we're starting to get some good matchups here, especially another conference play. Game that I kind of wanted to watch last night. I think again, I've been kind of a fanboy for Texas Tech ever since 2 years ago. They almost took me all the way on that future bet, but I saw a game last night while the Celtics were on, and I almost flipped. But I'm mad at myself because it was something weird. It was like a 12-point game or something. It was like a little. It looked a little out of reach for West Virginia, and then I like looked at the box score, and of course it came down to the end, and West Virginia actually won the game. So I'm a little mad at myself for not flipping over there, but that was also another good match. I think it was 10 versus 11, right?
Yeah, 10 versus 11. I watched because I was watching the Celtics too, so I followed the box score in the first half, and then I think West Virginia came out shooting very well, very very early, and then Mac McClung, if you're going to be back on Texas Tech this year, learn that name. He was a Georgetown transfer, and he had 30 points last night. Very good shooter. He knows how to take over games. He did hit that buzzer beater. No, well, I think 2 seconds left against Texas a couple weeks ago. But yeah, like you said, it was 64-52, and it was like kind of mad because like
that's exactly it.
The Celtics were getting out of hand, and I was like, okay, let me go back to this good college game, and then that was out of hand. So then I flipped over, watched a couple minutes, and it was like a weird timeout. I remember I was like, oh, let me just check back in this game, and it was like a 4-point game. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna ride this out, and Miles McBride kind of carried West Virginia shooting at the end of the stretch and hit an unbelievable shot with 6 seconds left. And McClung almost saved the day again, but there's some good help defense.
But yeah, I don't know. Either way, I think again, I'm getting the itch a little early. I haven't watched many games as far as
I watched a lot this past Saturday after recording. Or some of the
So
Baylor game. So
one thing I will say is, no matter what, it looks like we're probably not going to get a blue blood as like a national championship. I know last year there was a lot of chaos. This year it just seems like even if it is kind of like, even if it ends up being Baylor or Gonzaga is able to pull it out, at least that's not like, again, your traditional team. So
I think the closest thing you have a blue blood right now might be Michigan at 4.
And even then, they haven't won one.
Yeah, but they've made some title games
with a Fab 5. So
they made some title games recently. I think they won right before the Fab 5.
That's fine.
Virginia's back up to 8. They kind of they're Virginia and Nova's still up there. So
I
like
guess that's true.
No blue bloods, but like the new powers.
Like kind of like the last 5 or 10 years or so. But yeah,
the last 2 champions pretty much.
Kentucky, I don't know. So, but yeah, again, I'm starting to get the itch again. Once like the Super Bowl ends, I know there's
that was
NBA and NHL that hits, but the tournament just like that, like that's the next thing I'm looking to.
Yeah, it was pretty much it's always the first Saturday when there's no football. So last Saturday, even though there was some on Sunday, there was kind of nothing going on. And there's the Big 12 SEC challenge. Big 12 SEC challenge this week. Okay. So we got Alabama, Oklahoma. That'll be football game, but they're both won tonight, and they're both ranked. So
Oklahoma's probably better at basketball this year.
9 versus 24. Yeah, Alabama's 9.
I'm more mad that Oklahoma was better at basketball this year than football, but they did have a late surge in football. But
yeah, a couple good games. Because Texas Tech playing LSU. Like I said, LSU both teams can put up points, which is odd to say because like even the game last night was 88-87, and that's Bob Huggins versus Chris Beard. Don't really expect that.
Right.
Texas, Kentucky. That'll probably be a better game with a shorthanded team.
Who's Michigan playing?
Arkansas, Oklahoma State. Sorry, that'll be a shootout. With Moses Moody and Cade Cunningham, the other 2 of the 3.
Oh, I should have said Michigan. I'm sorry. I thought I was getting my big.
Yeah, they changed it up as SEC Big 12. Kansas, Tennessee, 2 ranked teams, and then right in the middle, the Battle of Virginia, 8 versus 20, Virginia versus Virginia Tech.
Nice.
Right. So there's a pretty good slate this coming.
Yeah.
The primetime games, the Texas Kentucky, that's at 8. 5 and 10 Kentucky, but
right.
But when they're at home against the shorthanded Texas team, it'll probably end up being a pretty good game.
Absolutely. So yeah, looks like we got a good slate coming up. It kind of covered a lot here. Again, probably went a little bit of a longer episode today. But I feel like we had so much to unpack in that NFC Championship game. So much went on there, and and
No,
again, we want to
no
cover.
preview this weekend. Will probably be a little shorter.
Yeah, the Saturday edition will probably be a little bit shorter. We'll definitely hit on a little bit of Super Bowl stuff. They can catch up on what's happened in the other leagues. Until then, again, we certainly are. It's going to be mostly, yeah, like I said, a lot of Super Bowl focus over the next couple weeks here. But yeah, Saturday will probably be a little bit on the shorter side as we just kind of do the same thing here. Just again, mostly start with football and then kind of spread around the other leagues and see
Try to
what we
get
have
some
coming up here.
the Saturday for the Super Bowl and maybe get some like fun prop bets going, like color Gatorade.
That'll be a fun show. We should definitely do something like that. I think that'll be because we'll probably would have talked. We're going to talk about a lot of probably X's and O's or prediction stuff. Like I don't know. We'll probably hit on a lot of that in the two shows between now and then the pre Super Bowl one. So yeah, we'll have a little bit of time to go over that. But yeah, again, just wanted to hit on a few things there. Do recap of the game. There are some new, and I'm actually going to post it with this episode. New social media platforms out there. Going to do Twitter account, Facebook page as well. We might kind of expand that. I know as far as like reaching a lot of people in podcast form, I think that's kind of the best way to go. So again, we really appreciate everyone following and liking the page and everything. We appreciate all the support that we do have. But yeah, not sure if you had anything else to add, Mike.
Now it seems like we really unpacked a lot, and looking forward to the next.
Absolutely. So
Looking forward to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I got our Super Bowl matchup set. We have in Kansas City and Tampa Bay. We'll see where some quarterbacks fall. We'll keep tracking basketball and hockey. And yeah, again, to close the show, 1 year anniversary, RIP Kobe.
RIP.
And again, we'll post this episode soon, and we'll see you guys on Saturday.
See you guys later.